Assalamu alaikum. How are you all? Okay, do you remember that we were studying the 1962 Constitution and then events leading to the dismemberment of Pakistan? Right, okay. Today we will study the 1973 Constitution, but we will link events from the dismemberment of Pakistan up till the making of the Constitution of 1973 and then afterwards till the end of Bhutto era, right? 1977, 5th July. So we will try to wind it up these issues in during this lecture, today's class. Okay, what happened after the dismemberment of East Pakistan or the dismemberment of Pakistan, right? Zulfikar Ali Bhutto became the Chief Martial Law civilian, the first ever civilian Chief Martial Law Administrator of Pakistan on 20th December 1971, because 16th December was the day when East Pakistan was separated from Pakistan. So after 4 days he blamed everything on General Yahya for military action, that you took that military action, and as a result of that military action Pakistan was dismembered, and the whole responsibility was put on the shoulders of Yahya Khan. And Zulfikar Ali Bhutto once again came out as a victorious, as a great leader in the eyes of the common people of Pakistan, right, as it was the case in the 1965 war. So when he became the Chief Martial Law Administrator of the country, the first task in front of him was to give a new constitution to the country and to give hope to the demoralizing nation as Pakistan was dismembered, right? Now what he did was that since he became the Chief Martial Law Administrator, so he just resolved to tackling the issues with an iron hand, right, and curbing the whole opposition. Whoever was posing opposition to him, he was adamant to curb that opposition, right? Like he learned nothing from the history, and he was still on the same path. He was considering that he is the savior of the nation, and he was given the title of Qaid Awam, right, like Qaid Azam, and then he is known as the second Qaid of the nation, and that is Qaid Awam, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, right? So in order to give hope to the demoralizing nation, he not only promised that he will be giving a new constitution to the country, he also promised them that this nation or the remaining Pakistan will be a better one now, and now Pakistan will be treading on the path of progress towards prosperity, right? During that time he faced some of the problems. First of all, we will go to the constitution making, that how did he make this constitution. He was in favor of a presidential form of government. You need to keep it in mind. He was in favor of giving a presidential form of government to Pakistan, because then he would be the president of the Pakistan and very powerful man in the country, right? But due to different point of views within the Pakistan People's Party, those founding fathers or the founding members of the Pakistan People Party along with Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, they did not agree with him on this point, and they just told him that okay, we can have a parliamentary system, like a parliament should be there and you should be the prime minister of the country, but the prime minister of the country was given a lot of powers. He was made virtually the dictator prime minister of the country in terms of the constitution or the lawmaking, right? So he assumed a lot of powers for himself. In the 1973 Constitution, the Prime Minister was very much powerful, and the head of the state was merely a nominal person. He could not do anything. He was just a symbol, a symbolic person, right? Powers resided with the Prime Minister in the 1973 Constitution. Okay, now we will go to the Constitution, and after explaining these Constitution and different terms in the Constitution and different clauses, major features of the Constitution, then we will come back and discuss the Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's era, right? What happened during that era. And okay, so you know, I have already explained this thing, that now that was a challenge, right? to lift the martial law and give a new constitution to the country, right? This is what I have already discussed during the past few minutes, right? Interim constitution was given to the country, right, and it was enforced in 1972, but that constitution was just interim, and then a new constitution was supposed to be given to the country sooner, right? All parties agreed on the future political system in October 1972. The committee reported on December 31, 1972. After long deliberations and compromises, the final draft was approved unanimously on 10th April 1973. The new constitution was enforced in the country on 14th August 1973. Right? The date was chosen, that was the date of independence of Pakistan as well, so you know they just chose this date for the new constitution as they were about to make a new Pakistan out of the old one and give a new hope to the people, so they chose this date very meticulously that it should be, you know, like this. Okay. Now this constitution functioned since then with two gaps. It remained operational. These are the period 1973 to 1977 when Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was arrested and imprisoned, and then martial law was or the constitution was suspended, right? 1977 to 1985 this constitution was this remained suspended, and later on in 1985 the constitution was again enforced with major amendment, which is known as the mini constitution of Pakistan. That is the 8th amendment in the constitution. General Ziaul Haq gave this 8th amendment, and as I have already told you that, you know, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto or the seat of the prime minister, that was very powerful under the original 1973 constitution. So during in that 8th amendment, the president was made powerful. 58(2)(b) was introduced in the constitution, which empowered the president to dissolve the National Assembly, right? That power was previously not with the president, but under the 8th amendment in 1985. So that thing, it was, you know, it remained suspended up till 1985, and then it was implemented afterwards. From 1985 up till 1999 the constitution worked, and there were a few amendments made in the constitution, like the 58(2)(b) which was imposed, which was given by General Muhammad Ziaul Haq. Again Nawaz Sharif in the 90s, late 90s, in his final term when he was having 2/3 majority in the parliament, he just gave another constitutional amendment through which he limited the powers of the president, because democracy in Pakistan suffered a lot after 1985 due to those powers with the president, through which he could dissolve the National Assembly, and the People's Party government was dissolved. Then the PML, Pakistan Muslim League government, was dissolved afterwards, and afterwards as a result of election again when PPP came into power, the government was dissolved. They would just elect their own president, like Laghari, Farooq Ahmed Khan Laghari. He was a chosen person by Benazir Bhutto, but the same person dissolved the National Assembly, right? So when Nawaz Sharif, as a result of that dissolution, when fresh elections were conducted in the country, Nawaz Sharif came to power, and that was the 2/3 majority with Nawaz Sharif at that time. So he made Rafiq Tarar as the president of Pakistan. Previously that was Ghulam Ishaq Khan, and then Farooq Ahmed Khan Laghari, and then Rafiq Tarar became the president of Pakistan, and that 8th amendment was made a bit mild. You know, those powers were given back to the prime minister, and the president did not enjoy that position of power which he was enjoying under the 8th amendment in the constitution, right? In 1999, as you would know, that again the constitution was suspended and PCO was given by General Pervez Musharraf in the country. In 2002, when the general elections were held. Yeah.
Sir, what were the reasons behind this instability?
Well, there are many reasons behind this instability. I will link it up again, cautiously I'm saying. I would link it up with the mismanagement or the bad policies of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. I will come back to it. Normally we say that army is very powerful in the country, but who made this army powerful? It was Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, right? In the 1960s, he maneuvered, he just got himself involved in a lot of military ventures with General Musa. In the 1960s, again he was powerful, dominant over the military because of his position which he was enjoying, which was given to him by General Ayub Khan. So he had a lot of links within the army. Now we will, after having exactly, right? So we will come back to this point, right? We will come back to this point, that why he was that much powerful and what was he doing, and then what changed that, Ziaul Haq just arrested Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and he became the ruler of the country, right? But the credit goes to Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, I would say. Even the roots, the seeds were sown at that time.
People who actually think that if Zulfikar Ali Bhutto got, he got time and he would have changed Pakistan.
We will discuss that. We will discuss that, right? Even in today's class, we will discuss that. Okay, from 1992 to 2002, this constitution remained suspended, and then from 2002 till this date, the constitution of 1973 is implemented in the country. This is the supreme law of the land, but we tailor it according to our needs, right? We just make amendments to this constitution just to suit our own needs, or the needs of the country, or the needs of the ruler, whatever you say, but the constitution is the same and we are just making amendments in this constitution, right? Now what were the salient features, or what are the salient features of this constitution? It was a parliamentary constitution having powerful prime minister as the head of the government and a very weak president originally, right? A very weak president, as I have already told you. Then president must act on the advice of the prime minister. If the prime minister advises something to the president, that advice must be accepted, right? All his orders were to be countersigned by the prime minister to be elected by the National Assembly, right? So whatever ordinances, whatever orders given by the president, the prime minister will have to look into those orders, and then he will countersign them in order to make them implemented, right? Okay. Prime Minister exercised all executive authority in the country. Prime Minister was answerable to the National Assembly because he was from the National Assembly, so he was answerable to the National Assembly. But in times of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, he was virtually above the Parliament. He did not consider himself to be answerable to this assembly, right? In 1985, powers of the president were increased through the 8th amendment of the constitution, as I have already discussed this thing, right? He gives his assent to bills passed by the parliament or returns these bills as well. Previously this was not the case, but as a result of the 8th amendment, the president got some powers from the parliament. Now the president must be at least 45 years of age. He must be a Muslim, qualified to become the member of the National Assembly, like those qualifications which are for the membership of the National Assembly applies to the president as well, right? He is elected by the parliament and the provincial assemblies for 5 years, right? Now bicameralism was there introduced in the Pakistan for the first time. Previously it was the National Assembly and then again the National Assembly, just one house of the parliament, but under the 1973 constitution there was bicameralism, two houses of the parliament, the Senate and the National Assembly, right? This is the composition of it. Originally the seats of the Senate were 63, later on increased to 70 to 87, and then 100, and now it's 104, right? Original strength of the National Assembly was 210, now it's 342, right? Okay. The Senate election is indirect. Senators are elected by the members of the provincial and the National Assemblies. They are not elected by the people directly. Okay, and Senate is a permanent body. half of the member of the Senate, they are elected, they are elected for 6 years, right? But half of the members retire after 3 years, and then elections are held after 3 years for those 50% empty seats, and they will come for 6 years, and when 3 years pass, the rest of the 50% will retire, and then fresh elections will be held for Senate on the rest of the 50% seats. So it goes like this, right? So the Senate elections, that is why we say that we normally do not see the Senate elections along with the National Assembly and the Provincial Assembly elections. They are, going on a different trajectory. Okay. The National Assembly elections, they are direct. Voting age for franchise is lowered from 21 to 18, right? So now a person having a national identity card is eligible to vote, to cast his or her vote, right? Parliament under the 1973 Constitution is a powerful legislative body. It enjoys all legislative powers. It has control of the executive through questions, resolutions, parliamentary committees, etc. Right? So Parliament is the supreme body and it controls the executive. National Assembly is more powerful than the Senate, as I have told you that it is direct election and Senate is indirect election. So that is why in order to give people more say, the direct representatives of the people are given more powers. Budget is presented before the National Assembly. Cabinet is answerable to the National Assembly, right? Okay, federal system is introduced in the country. Federation of Pakistan has 4 provinces and the Federation of Pakistan has got 4 provinces. We have discussed the issue of 4 provinces and 5 provinces in land and people of Pakistan, so we will not go back into that discussion, right? It is clear. Okay, 2 lists are given in the Constitution, federal list and concurrent list. Residuary powers belong to the provinces. So the federal list, federal government can make legislation. Concurrent list, federal and provincial government both can make legislation, or both can do legislation. And then whatever is out of these 2 lists becomes the residuary powers. So it is with the provinces, right? So provincial autonomy is ensured up to a larger extent. The provincial structure, provincial governors are appointed by the president on the advice of the prime minister. Right, so normally the prime minister will choose a person as the governor of a particular province, and then he will advise that to the president, and the president would appoint that person. The governor is selected, the chief minister is elected. The prime minister does not select the chief minister. It is the people of the province in the provincial assembly election who elect their chief minister through the elections, like in Balochistan or in KP. You see that there is currently in KP, there is the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is the ruling party over there. The prime minister did not select Parvez Khattak as the chief minister. It is the people of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa who elected Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf in the provincial assembly, right? And then in the provincial assembly, the legislators of that assembly, they elected a leader of the house, and that leader of the house currently is Parvez Khattak, not elected by Nawaz Sharif, not selected by Nawaz Sharif. Exactly the way it is done at national level, in the National Assembly. But the governor, he is the agent of the federation, and that agent of the federation is appointed by the president with the advice of the prime minister, or on the advice of the prime minister, right? Advice ka matlab ye hai ki it is binding on the president. If the prime minister says that this person should be the president, the governor, he just gives this advice to the president, just to give him some role in the because it is a federation, right? So that is why. Okay. Then elected chief ministers exercise executive powers, same as the prime minister exercises executive powers at the national level. The chief ministers do it on the provincial level, right? Then a parliamentary system is there in the provinces as it is there at the national level, right? Is it clear now? It is almost the same kind of thing, but at national level there are 2 houses. At provincial level there is only 1 house. right? And that is the provincial assembly. Size or sizes of the provincial assemblies, they vary. Like Balochistan might have less legislators and Punjab might have a lot of, in hundreds, and Balochistan is not even 100. So it is like this, it varies, right? The population, the constituencies are drawn, and it is based on the population of that particular region. So that is why the size of the national or the provincial assembly, one provincial assembly might have a lot of members, like Punjab 300 plus, Balochistan not even 100, right? So it varies. Enough provincial autonomy is guaranteed under this constitution. Still, the tradition of the strong center, it is there. Center is strong. In an ideal federation or in a successful federation, the center should not be strong. Provinces should be strong so that they can decide a lot of things for themselves, and the resentment is not created among the people of the province.
Beneficial, like if all the provinces are given enough power, there would be this chaos. All of the provinces.
But there are countries in which provinces are given enough choices, and there is no chaos, because autonomy is something which people ask for. Freedom is something which people ask for. So if center is controlling everything in those provinces, then disparity is created. Most of the provinces, or some of them, might say that you are just exploiting our resources and you are not investing on us. So that creates problem. If the provinces are made autonomous, they would exploit their own resources for their own benefit, and then this provincialism or these kind of issues, they will not arise.
The country won't work as a single unit, provinces would work for their own benefit.
Exactly, but if they are working as a single unit, you just take defense into the keep defense with the federal government, finance or fiscal policy with the federal government, and some major policies keep it with the federal government. So the uniformity will be visible in the country, but then afterwards devolve the rest of the powers to the people of the province, and then the provincial government should devolve it to the local bodies, so that people feel empowered, and if a district is earning more, that money should be spent on that district, and part of it should be given to the province and then to the center. But if you are keeping all the powers with the center, so this disparity is created, like we saw in East Pakistan. They were saying that you are just exploiting us, taking money from us, taking our resources, and then spending it on the West Pakistan. So same is the case. If the provincial autonomy is there, the money would be earned and that would be spent on that same area. So this disparity would not be created, right? Center has emergency power, so if emergency is declared, then fundamental human rights are suspended, and the center become really powerful. That becomes really powerful, and they exercise these emergency powers through the governors when emergency is declared, right? Okay, governor's rule can be imposed if the government cannot function in the province or in the provinces. So governor rule will be imposed, and it means that the provincial assembly would be dissolved, and the federation or the center would run the affairs of that particular province through the governor. So the writ of the central government would be imposed over there as a result of the governor rule, because governor is not elected person. So if the governor does not obey the center would remove that governor and just appoint another governor. He is not elected person, right? So governor rule is basically it makes the center powerful, and it is the rule of the center in shape of the governor rule. But they implement it through the governor because he is the agent of the federation in the province. Provinces are dependent on the center for finance, right? They cannot generate their own finances if they are allowed, if they are given enough financial autonomy, then they would do it. But right now this is not the case. The center makes policies for them, and then they are dependent on the finance on the center, right? Normally we see that provinces say that we are not given enough funds to do this and that, and it is not our responsibility, it is the federal government which is responsible for it, and for this matter or that matter, right? So this is what we normally see, and this is a problem.
But sir, we do see a bias, or a likewise in people ends reign and these 5 years, people have been saying that they favored Punjab more than the other provinces.
Yeah. So this is a problem which can be resolved if enough provincial autonomy is given. This issue can be resolved. Okay, just make them autonomous, and up to some extent give them autonomy, and then see how they perform. If their situation is improved, okay. If it does not improve, then again make an amendment and take the powers back and manage or administer that area. But we should at least try this, right? The provincial autonomy, because it is the basic spirit of the federation, that provinces or units should be made autonomous. Principles of policy, Islamic provisions are provided in the principle of policy, right? This principle of policy I have already explained in the previous class, that this is not something binding, but everything should be, this is just giving a direction to the state that okay, you should implement your policies like this, right? So this should be the aim, or this should be the direction of the government. Foreign policy principles are also given under this heading. So it says that we should have good relations with the Muslim countries and friendly relations with the whole world, and we should not, and we should support self-determination of the people who are struggling to gain independence and this and that. So this is what the principal policy says. Fundamental rights are secured in the constitution and are implemented through the highest court. So fundamental rights, if they are violated, people can just go to the Supreme Court and then say that okay, these are our fundamental rights given by the constitution, and now the state or an official or somebody else is just not allowing us to enjoy our fundamental rights, which is our constitutional right? Islamic provisions of this constitution, title of the state is Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Objective resolution is in the preamble of the constitution. Later on, in 8th amendment, it was incorporated within the constitution. So preamble is something which we call iftitaiya, like a preface to a book. You just read it and okay, fine, go to the chapters. But when something is in the chapters, that is important, right? So it was made part of the constitution as a result of the 8th amendment. Islam was declared the state religion of Pakistan. Definition of the Muslim was included, like the Ahmadis and that Khatm Nabuwat, or the finality of the prophethood. It was incorporated, so that is the definition of the Muslim we are talking about right now. Principle of the policy also carries some Islamic clauses. So again, you can say that this was an Islamic constitution, or you can put it in the Islamic features of the 1973 constitution, the principle of policy, right? Council of Islamic Ideology is established under the constitution. Federal Shariat Court was also added in the 1981 in this constitution. So these things happened through amendment, and that is why we are studying it, that these are the normal, or these are the Islamic features. Yeah, under Article 6, this is an act of treason. Article 6 of the Constitution says that this is an act of treason, and that is why Pervez Musharraf faced a lot of problems. Though he did not abrogate, he just suspended it for a while and then re-implemented. But they say that okay, this is Article 6 applies on him, because anybody who abrogates this constitution through unlawful, unconstitutional means, he would be a traitor. He would be considered as a traitor, because this is an act of treason stated by the constitution. If they say that if somebody disagree with this constitution, they should secure the 2/3 majority in the parliament, and then they should come up with a new constitutional proposal. As a result of that constitutional proposal, if approved by the whole national and provincial assemblies, if that thing is approved, then this document would be abrogated, or this document would be considered null and void, and the other document would replace it. But that process should be followed, that lawmaking process, proper due process should be followed, right? Urdu was declared as the national language of the country. English may be used for official purposes until arrangements would be made for its replacement by Urdu, which haven't been made up till now, right? Okay, Provincial Assembly, just recently Supreme Court issued a verdict that okay, Urdu should be side by side, it should also be used along with English, right? So it should be used, and now we see that there are many proceedings which are carried out in Urdu. Previously it was not the case. Urdu was standing nowhere. Okay, provincial assemblies may prescribe measures for teaching, promotion and uses of provincial languages or language in addition to the national language, and we see that this is the case. Like the provinces, there are Pashto is there taught there in KP and Baluchi in Balochistan, and Sindhi in Sindh, and I think Punjabi in Punjab it is taught. So this feature of the constitution which is empowering the provinces to do so. National Security Council was added in 2002 in advisory capacity. It can advise the government on matters of national security, right? Judiciary and independent judiciary is given under the constitution. Supreme Court of Pakistan is the highest court under this constitution. One high court is established in each province and one is Azad Jammu and Kashmir. A chain of lower courts is there under the high courts. Okay. Now, when this constitution was given, now we just studied it with major amendments as well, but when this constitution was given in the country, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto became very much powerful as a result of this constitution. Now just remember that it was 1971 in which the tactics of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, it created havoc in East Pakistan. And the people of East Pakistan were not satisfied. Then elections were held. Though he was against the date of the election, but Yahya Khan somehow announced those elections. When elections were held, he knew that he would not gain enough seat in the provincial assemblies, but still in East Pakistan, and it was a reality. As a result of the election, he came to know that okay, Mujibur Rahman is the most powerful or the most popular leader in the country at that time. Because of the popularity of Mujibur Rahman in East Pakistan, he secured most of the seats. Now under this constitution, you should keep it in mind that that was the same assembly. These elected people, they were elected as a result of the 1970 election. No fresh elections were held in the country, right? Now under this constitution, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto tried to implement his will in the country, but he faced a lot of opposition. Opposition from Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, and not Abdul Ghaffar Khan but Wali Khan in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, current Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and then NWFP. Then opposition from different Baloch tribes in Balochistan, right? So Bizinjo was removed as the governor of Balochistan, and Nawab Akbar Bukti was made the governor of Balochistan, just to curb the resistance in Balochistan posed by Ataullah Mangal and Nawab Khair Bakhsh Mari in Balochistan, right at that time. So Nawab Akbar Bukti resorted to the same kind of tactics on the behest of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, and he curbed this resistance. And those matters which could be easily resolved in the parliament or the provincial assembly, they were not resolved over there, and he equaled his scores with those two Nawabs or those two resisting Sardars in Balochistan in the battlefield. So military operation, we saw the result of one military operation in East Pakistan in 1970s and 71, not 70s but 71. Again a military operation was conducted in Balochistan in the 1970s, and General Tika Khan, who was known as the butcher of Bengalis, became the army chief. General Ehsan was retired and he became the army chief, and he was assigned the task to deal with the militancy or the resistance in Balochistan. So then people commonly would say that now butcher of Bengal will become the butcher of Balochis in Balochistan, right? So General Tika Khan became the army chief at that time, and he curbed that militancy, but with a lot of problems. Military operation was carried out in Balochistan in the 1970s. So people were raising voices, concerns over the tactics which Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was resorting to, that he did not learn anything from the history in East Pakistan, and he is resorting to the same kind of tactics in Balochistan 2 or 3 years after the debacle of Bengal, or the dismemberment of East Pakistan. So this was one of the things. In Sindh, since Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was a landlord, so in Sindh, the Pir Pagaro gave him a lot of resistance, right, of Muslim League, and Zulfikar Ali Bhutto resorted to to silence the voices of those Sindhi Vaderas who were not approving of his tactics. Particularly the Sindhi, the Muhajir community in Sindh, they suffered a lot, because this act in which they say that provinces should decide that what other languages should be made part of the curricula at the provincial level. When Sindhi was implemented as a part of the curricula in Sindh, the Muhajir, they resisted against it. And you need to keep it in mind that this is the psyche of Sindh, right? This is the psyche of Sindh. When these refugees, when they migrated from India to Pakistan, and the Sindhi Vaderas, they resisted that they should not come to Sindh, right? Again, the same issue was again they were facing the same issue again in Sindh, and that they did not approve of Muhajir or refugees, migrated people from India in Sindh. They did not approve of them, and the refugees were given tough time. They were saying that, okay, we sacrificed for Pakistan. It was the Muhajir community, the so-called Muhajir community, who posed resistance to the colonial, during the colonial era, who rallied behind the Muslim League in the central India. And these areas were already out of India, like Sindh and Bengal. They were already out of India, the current Pakistan and East Pakistan. They were out of India, but the resistance by the Muslims of central India compelled the Congress and even the British government to give way to the demand of Pakistan. Now Pakistan has been created and we have come over here, but the locals are resisting us. So these concerns were again raised by the Muhajir at that time in Sindh, but these concerns were not addressed by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, right? He just remained aloof, and whenever the situation would go out of control, then he would say that, okay, I was not aware of it, and that is why I could not do anything about it. It was a local matter and mismanaged, right? This was his technique. On the sidelines, he could not afford resistance by all factions of the society, so that is why he just got closer to the scholars or the religious community, the Muslims, right? So that is why the soft section was created by the religious people for Zulfikar Ali Bhutto at that time, because he could not afford their resistance as well, because he was facing a lot of resistance on many fronts. Then People Party was in Sindh and in South Punjab. It was nowhere standing in NWFP and in Balochistan. So that is why Balochistan and NWFP, they faced the brunt of the policies of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, in order to manage his affairs, he created another security force, the Federal Security Force, FSF, right? That Federal Security Force was comprised of the retired people from military, right? And normally those retired people were, commentators say that they were normally those kind of people who would not even perform their own jobs accurately. They were somehow, tilted towards unacceptable behavior when even they were in services, right? So they did not follow the laws when they were in service properly. So that FSF was created out of those, and then he would settle scores with his political opponents through that FSF, and political assassination became the norm of the land. A lot of people were assassinated in Karachi, Lahore, right, and Hyderabad. Even in NWFP, assassination attempts were made on the life of Abdul Wali Khan, but he escaped those assassination attempts, right? So political issues were resolved in such a manner that the situation deteriorated in the country, right? At this point, when the situation was deteriorating in the country, at this point what happened was that Hayat Ahmad Khan Shirpao was also killed. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was out of the country. He was Hayat Ahmad Khan Shirpao in Peshawar University. He was just delivering a lecture, and when he came to the lectern, and a bomb exploded over there and he was killed. Yeah, right. So when he came back, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, he just truncated his foreign visit, and when he came back to Pakistan, he blamed Abdul Wali Khan for that murder, for that assassination, and he arrested him. Right, Abdul Wali Khan was arrested. A lot of incarceration were made during that time, in order to keep the opposition under check. Right, so these were the common tactics at that time. Situation in Balochistan was creating problem, but it was settled somehow. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto did not listen to the advice of the senior members of People Party. Right, Mustafa Kar was one of them, and he did not listen to their advices, and he thought that he was the person who understands the situation rightly, and he needs to discipline the whole of the country, and he had a long history with the military, and that is why he resorted to such kind of tactics. But General Tika Khan's retirement age was approaching, right? So when his retirement age was approaching, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto thought, and mind you one thing, that the political wing in the ISI was created at that time by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, because he was about to call for to hold fresh elections in the country, and he did not want any of the opposition parties to be victorious against Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in those elections. So that is why intelligence was used. He knew exactly who is in his favor and who is not in his favor, all the potential candidates, through the intelligence reports, and that political wing of ISI has been established. So now we say that military is meddling in the affairs, but who empowered them? Right? It was a civilian who empowered them at that time, right, for his own purposes. So what happened at that time, that when the date of retirement of Tika Khan was approaching, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was in search for a new army general, right? He was in search for it. So there were a lot of potential candidates after Tika Khan, but they were senior. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto popularity among the military was on the downward trend because of his tactics in Balochistan, because of the FSF. The FSF was even, in order to curb opposition, they would resort to a lot of tactics, a lot of unlawful tactics, and at times the families of the servicemen in the military, they would suffer through at the hand of the FSF, right? So what happened at that time, that his popularity in the ranks and files of army, it was dropping, and he was in search of a new general in the army, but he could not risk to appoint a new general, a senior new general. That is why he just went through the profiles of all the potential candidates of the generals, and the middle rank and the upper rank, but not eligible to become general candidates. And when he came across the profile of General Ziaul Haq, in his report it was written that he is a very humble person, he is a dutiful person, and he always obeys the orders of his seniors, and he never meddles in the politics, he never expresses his views about the political happening in the country and this and that. So he found this candidate suitable to become the army chief, because then he thought that, okay, he would never say anything to me, he would not go against me, so he is the best suitable candidate for army, right? And in the process, he bypassed a lot of senior members, and it is a tradition in the army that when a senior person becomes the generals, all the eligible senior members, they are retired automatically, because they cannot serve under a junior person who was their junior, and now he is the army chief. So the senior rank retires. So all the senior generals, they were retired as when he chose Ziaul Haq as the army chief. General Tika Khan was not in favor of this decision, but he did not accept the proposal of General Tika Khan for the army chief. He also proposed a few names, but he did not accept any of them, right? Okay, when General Ziaul Haq became the army chief, he was a person who was just willing to perform his task, do his duties, and he was not in the political game, you can say, right? But what happened with this, that all that lot which was familiar with Zulfikar Ali Bhutto from the times of Ayub Khan, the whole lot has been retired from military, right? All those senior members, they have been retired, from General Musa to, General Tika Khan, everybody has been retired now. Now Zulfikar Ali Bhutto thought of himself that okay, he would enjoy the same kind of influence and authority over the army, but it was not the case. The tales of the 93,000 surrendered Pakistan army personnel in East Pakistan, they were there in front of these army men. And the middle ranking army officers and even the high ranking army officers, they were blaming Zulfikar Ali Bhutto for the debacle of East Pakistan and the butchery over there, and then the surrender and whatever happened afterwards. Now they were raising fingers towards Zulfikar Ali Bhutto for these reasons, that it was his misguided policies which made the Pakistan army faced with humiliating defeat in East Pakistan, right? And then Pakistan was carved into two because of his policies. So they were blaming him. In the process, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto arranged on the international front, he was projecting himself as a leader of the Muslim world. He organized the conference of OIC in Lahore, and Mujibur Rahman was called upon for that conference, and then over there he resolved the issue of the release of the 93,000 prisoners of war with Indira Gandhi. He went to Simla to resolve that issue, and then discussed it with Mujibur Rahman as well, and later on convinced Mujibur Rahman that okay, you should not be trying our military personnel for the war crimes in East Pakistan, and this was considered as a success of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, right? In the meantime, India detonated its first nuclear explosion or nuclear test in Pokhran and declared itself as a nuclear state. So Zulfikar Ali Bhutto also started the nuclear program of Pakistan, right? In the meantime, this was happening on the international front, but on the domestic front, I am telling you what was happening, right? So on the international front, he was gaining popularity. He came close to the Shah of Iran, right? And he came close to the king of Saudi Arabia and the rulers of Libya and these rulers, and he was getting close to Mao as well, to Chinese government as well, right? So to Russia as well. So this is what he was doing, What happened afterwards, that now voices were raised for that general elections should be held in the country, because the last elections which were held in the country was 1970, and it was East and West both Pakistans. Now it is just West Pakistan, and you should come up with another mandate for yourself in order to do whatever you want to do. You should come up with another mandate for yourself, right? A fresh mandate. So Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was first of all reluctant to hold elections in the country, but in late 1976 and early late 1976, military had almost convinced General Ziaul Haq that you should take charge of the affairs and you should depose this Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and take control of the country, implement the martial law. But Ziaul Haq was somehow unwilling, right? In March 1977, elections were held in the country, and in those elections the PNA, it was an alliance of the opposition parties against Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. This PNA alliance was, it was in the election against Pakistan People's Party, and Pakistan People's Party was on also facing this, but he did not allow PNA to win elections. It was a election managed by the FSF and other tactics used by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. People were brought to the polling booths forcefully, right? And the PNM members, they faced that okay, this booths are almost jam-packed, and the people party voters are there, and they could not vote. But when the election results were declared, PNA was defeated badly. It could not secure much seats. Only 15% of the National Assembly seats were secured by the PNA. They started agitation in the country. Street violence began in the country. The FSF again resorted to curb that street violence in the country, particularly in Hyderabad, Karachi and Lahore, right? So when it resorted to curb the street violence, you know, streets were blocked, roads were blocked, communication between cities was blocked, like Lahore and the rest of the cities, Karachi and Hyderabad. So this communication was blocked, and FSF was asked to resolve the issue. Military was not called upon yet. FSF was asked to resolve the issue, but FSF faced strong resistance from opposition agitators, right? And then at the same time, the economy of Pakistan was also on the downward trend. So it is said that the government did not have enough financial resources to pay the personnel of FSF at that time. He also asked the Shah of Iran to give him $300 million. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto asked him, but that request was rejected politely, right? That request was rejected. So he did not have the money to pay this FSF, and the FSF was badly beaten, and now they were not implementing the agenda of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in the country. They were only trying to save their own self, their own lives, right, in their trenches and wherever they were stationed. So they were doing it, and the FSF, you might say that it collapsed. When it collapsed, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto just met with the opposition leaders of PNA, and he agreed that okay, fresh elections should be held in the country, and he agreed that okay, the monitoring committees of those fresh elections, the PNA members should also be included in those monitoring committees. PNA agreed, but later on PNA again demanded that okay, we should not only be made part of the monitoring committees of the election, but we should be given a power sharing in the running of the government before the election, so that we can administer everything before the election, because you will be rigging the election. So Zulfikar Ali Bhutto did not perceive these things, and he thought that okay, now this is too much, I should not be accepting these demands of PNA. The PNA, call from the people at that time, and then the call from the military at that time, all these things convinced the military general Ziaul Haq at that time that okay, the country is not safe in the hands of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Political assassination is there in the country. Opposition is just bullied, and people are imprisoned. Political imprisonment is there in the country. Political assassination is happening. Chaos is in the country. Balochistan is restive, and Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, just from his exile, he came to Pakistan, and he termed Zulfikar Ali Bhutto as Adolf Bhutto, Adolf Hitler and Adolf Bhutto, right? Like these kind of things were happening in the country. So in this situation, on 5th July 1977, the government of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was overthrown. The then Army Chief General Ziaul Haq, he took charge of the issues in the country. He became the martial law administrator of the country. The constitution was suspended, right? And then on 5th July 1977, the constitution was suspended, and then we saw that okay, it was reenacted in 1985, right? So this was the whole scenario in the 1970s, which led to the downfall of the Pakistan People's Party government in 1977, and a new era began. We have just covered this era. We will be covering it in some of the coming classes, but it will not be in this much depth, because now our focus would be shifted to other dimensions of the Pakistan studies, like the foreign policy of Pakistan studies and political parties and this and that. So we should not be discussing these issues, the issues after the downfall of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in this much detail, because this was a constitutional issue and constitutions were discussed. So that is why Ayub, Liaquat Ali Khan, Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah from Objective Resolution, Liaquat Ali Khan, and then 1956 constitution, and then events leading to the 1962 constitution, and to the abrogation of that constitution, and then to the enactment of new constitution, and in the process all these events came. So that is why we discussed it in detail, just to put things into perspective. But afterwards we will not be discussing. If you ask, I will be shedding light on that. Otherwise, we will be discussing the history of Pakistan from other angles in the coming classes, right? So this is it from me for today. Thank you very much.